Hi guys, did you know that many years back a survey was carried out during the presidential election in America and it pointed victory for a certain Republican candidate? When the results came out, the candidate actually lost because what was realized that the people who were surveyed through the telephone were majorly supporting the candidate, but they were only a fraction of the population who voted. That is how important the role of statistics is in your research. A lot of people do not have an understanding of statistical inputs, statistical analysis. But there is a tool that you can use which will help you, and the tool is a statistical advisor who can guide you in your research. Welcome to Search Research with me, Dr. Sam, your online thesis guide and advisor. And today I will tell you how to use this tool ethically without harming the integrity of your research. Let's get started with the steps in your research investigation and how you can use the statistical advisor at every stage of your research. The first step in your research will be to develop the aims and objectives of your research. Statistics is a precise discipline. For researchers to make sensible choices of statistical methods, you need to have clear objectives and questions. Having the aims and objectives of an investigation or study critically reviewed by an experienced statistical advisor can help researchers avoid ambiguity and the posing of questions that cannot be answered by the proposed investigation. So here your idea will of course to come up with research ideas, your goals, objectives. Start reading up on theories, the ones that you will use specially. What resources do you require for your research? And of course the most important is your research questions that will guide your thesis or your research project. Here the statistical advisor can actually critically assess your research aims and objectives and provide you with an honest opinion. There is no harm in getting an opinion from an expert or statistical advisor right from the beginning of the research. If you have a statistical advisor who may be your main supervisor or not, but someone who understands how your questions will be answered using the proposed statistical tool will help you guide your research from the very beginning. Let's take up step number 2. What is your step number 2 will be for you to design an experiment, right? Design an experiment, or you can call it investigation. So the way in which your data will be collected, the variables on which the data will be collected, and the most efficient use of available resources form the basics for determining the quality and cost effectiveness of research. Statistical principles and statistical training in the area of design are the foundation of sound research and development. Experience in the application of statistical design principle is the key to avoiding serious and often irretrievable mistakes. So what is your role here as a researcher? Your role will be for you to introduce the design to your advisor. Provide them with the background information. What is background information? That means why did you choose this proposed design? On what basis? What is your local knowledge of the contextual settings in which you would carry out the research? Are you going to carry out in a school, a college, a workplace? How much is the accessibility to these places? So this is what you have to describe in detail when you are designing an experiment. And what will the statistical advisor do here? How can they help? They will introduce the design and sampling expertise. Alright, I'll talk more about the design and sampling expertise with the next step when I talk about the defining model of or method of analysis. All right. So what is the third step in your research? The third step in your research could be defining a model. So when I say defining a model, that could be a theoretical model, it could be a conceptual model, it could be both. And you will propose a method of analysis. How do you plan to analyze your data? Alright, so data will provide the factual information about population or the processes that you have sampled. Faulty data collection will typically lead to incorrect conclusion about the experiment. There is extensive statistical methodology that can be applied to sampling methods to ensure the most efficient use of resources and to maximize the chance of reaching the correct conclusion. So what will be your role here as a researcher? Your role will be your knowledge, all the theories that you have studied and why you have picked a certain theoretical framework, your experience of being able to carry out the proposed research through the conceptual model, and whether you can carry out the analysis or not. So remember, statistics offers the means of determining sample sizes that will ensure required levels of precision in estimation of population characteristics and required level of power to detect group or treatment differences. If you do not choose the right sample or the right sampling technique, there will be questions asked about your research. So here, how can the advisor help you? They can form statistical questions which will question your analysis technique. Is this the right technique for you or not? They can also suggest the correct methods of analysis for you to be able to analyze your data and get the required results and conclusion. Right? What is the next step? The next step for you, once you have formulated a plan, you will collect the data. And here, of course, your job is to undertake the data collection. This has to be your role. It cannot be your advisor's role. Alright, especially as a qualitative researcher, you have to be involved in the qualitative research data collection. As a quantitative, sometimes we employ neutral parties to take care of the ethical issues. So knowing that how the data will be analyzed is an important part to play in establishing the best way to store and manage data in computers. Whether a database will be used or whether you will simply use an Excel spreadsheet or a computing package, directly inputting the data into a statistical computing package, that is your decision. Many individual researchers and organizations have failed to spend the money to have these issues sorted out before the data storage. Here, the expert will not have any advice to give you. They will give the advice already, so you have to then choose the correct package. The consequence is often an unnecessarily high expense through inefficient data management or inability to use the data completely, which will be a waste of your time. In the context of the entire operation, a small amount of money is required to obtain expert advice in choosing the correct computing facility and how to store data in those computers in an efficient manner. Once you have done data collection, what do? You perform the calculations. I'll say calculations. Another word could be you will analyze the data. How you do that is of course up to you, depending on what kind of data you have collected, how you want to analyze it, what information you want to get out of it. So choosing the right statistical computer software, that is one of the most important role here. Use, and I would also say choose the correct statistical computing packages. If you don't know what statistical computing packages are, examples are SPSS, even Excel is a computing package. ANOVA, if I'm not wrong, ANOVA is a software, or it's SPSS is definitely a software, and you can use Excel as well. Alright, so you have to choose the right package which will work for you on the advice of your statistical advisor. Right? So there's a large range of software available in both terms of both cost and coverage. Making a wrong choice will be frustrating for you. Make sure you use or you choose a user-friendly software, something that you can easily understand and use. Do not use a complicated software unless you are an expert in it already. Alright, here the advisor will assist, of course, with the selection and use of facilities. When I say facilities, it could be the software itself, the computers, the tool, the equipment, whatever it is, right? So make sure it is not a time consuming and frustrating process, because users have struggled to perform analysis and then not being able to implement the software, use the correct package, and incorrect analysis or failure have led to procedures that are then questioned by your examiners and reviewers. Finally, what's the last step is for you to interpret your results and present the findings. This is a very important stage. Of course, you all know it. Here, of course, your role is to integrate your statistical findings with your theoretical foundation. This theoretical foundation will be whatever you have studied or written till now. So that could be based on your literature review, your theoretical framework, your conceptual framework. You have to put everything together. It should all make sense. It should be integrated. Here the advisor or the expert can assist with interpretation and presentation of results. Now remember, it is not the advisors or the experts' job to do any analysis for you, or to collect the data, or to write up the thesis for you. No, it is not their job, and you cannot ask them. It is unethical for you to do so. How statistical result is presented is very important these days. Lots of papers, lots of journal articles, they are getting rejected because of poor presentation. So you may have done a fantastic research, but if you can't present it, then it is of no use. So make sure you highlight your findings, even the smallest to the biggest. All right, present simply in easy to understand language. All right, anyone reading your paper should be able to understand what you are trying to present. Try to solve real world problems. Highlight how does this impact the real world, how can this be used to solve something in the real world. All right, otherwise your conclusion is wasted. All right, do not only simply summarize your numbers and your data. Make sure that you highlight your research findings, show them the impact of your research, why your research is important, and why they should read it. So guys, this is how you use a statistical advisor, a statistical expert, and their input in improving your research output. Let me know what you thought about this video. Do you like videos like this? I look forward to your comments and feedback. Bye for now.